So the process of writing a thesis, it's actually where a lot of graduate students kind of perceive the most challenge. There's a lot of pressure on it. Once you've done your proposal, you've kind of continued on to do your research. You've spent a lot of time possibly doing lab work, doing field work, doing library research, collating data, analyzing, looking for trends. There's a lot of things that are done. But then there's that next step, which is to write it up and make something coherent out of it. That's where a lot of people struggle. There's a lot of stress and anxiety that can be associated with it. So when it comes to writing a thesis, one of the things to remember is action. A thesis is not an impossible task. It's not like one of the 7 tasks of Hercules. It's a doable thing. They have a limited page number, like a limited number of pages in them, and in reality, a person can write that many pages very quickly. It's reasonable, and I have heard of people writing in as many as 4 days. Usually that requires a lot of revision, but the major strokes are there, the big strokes, the layout, most of the information is conveyed. After that, it's a process of improving. So one of the things that I recommend quite strongly is there's a couple of things. One is to use an annotated bibliography. Basically, this is to stay organized. A thesis is different from a research paper because of the scale, and basically the work happens over a longer period of time and on a larger scale. An annotated bibliography acts to organize your readings, the information you've collected, and to keep it in some sense of order. And that's actually quite important when you're working on a larger document. Another part is to actually use a lot of invention strategies. The primary one that I recommend is mind mapping. Basically, that's just drawing out the major concepts and then using lines to show how they relate to each other, and to keep looking at each one of these concepts and breaking them up. Quick example would be that 2 components of invention might be 2 strategies, I guess. One would be mind mapping, one would be creating a matrix for comparison. And so those are subsections or subunits of invention. So just something simple. That's actually a very simple task, but it helps to brainstorm a lot, to go through the process of analyzing, evaluating, exploring a topic. Then that information can then be reorganized. It also gives a sort of a document that, or I should say, it leaves you with a kind of stable form of your thoughts at the time. A lot of people can go through and basically brainstorm and generate a lot of ideas very quickly, but they forget them just as quickly. And what the concept map does is it leaves some sort of record of that thought process, something to remind you later on. The next thing to do is to take this and to transform that into something more usable, which would be to create an outline. And the outline should be detailed. The more detailed the outline is, the easier it is to write. So, for example, if an outline has been thought, basically from this process, it's generated enough of the end product that the outline can be made to a high resolution, say to the level of, say, 6 paragraphs, where each entry in this outline is equivalent to 6 paragraphs. It's actually quite easy to work with that, because because filling out one of these little headings under the outline is quite accomplishable. 6 paragraphs is easy to write. It's something that can be produced quite quickly. And what that does then is it gives an overarching structure. That structure is really important. That's the harder thing to fix. If you have the opportunity to, you should always read a thesis before you start your own. And what you'll find is that it takes a while to read one. So to go through and revamp the overall structure after the fact is a lot more challenging than to do it beforehand. So a really basic outline for a thesis would be to start with, well, there's always preliminary pages. Which is just information kind of about the publication. Those occur basically in every book. Then starting with, say, an introduction. Going into a lit review. Then moving on to, maybe really stating the problem, or actually, at this point, the problem may be stated. They may go on to say the methods that are used, then on to the results, discussion, and references. Here's a really basic outline. It can be changed from there. These may be numbers. This is more of a, I guess, a science-focused outline. For someone doing, say, a creative writing thesis, that could be quite different. The big one is that you go through and kind of plan where everything will be. And each one of these will be planned in detail. And that detail is what makes it easier to write.